So we all know that Iran has this obsession with wanting to destroy Israel, annihilate the Jewish state. But the question I'd like to ask today is why? Why are they so obsessed? What's the bigger plan? What's the big idea here? Prime Minister Netanyahu, in a recent speech at the JNS, the Jewish News Syndicate, gave a speech where he unveiled and revealed all kinds of interesting insights into what's happening behind the scenes in Israel's war against Hamas and Hezbollah, the proxies of Iran. But he also delved deeper into Iran's strategy and what they're really seeking. Have a watch, because I think it's really important that we understand this clearly.
Because no one else is fighting Iran. The only ones who are willing to fight Iran and are fighting Iran is us. The only ones who are keeping the Middle East in place, as opposed to collapsing before Iranian aggression, is us. If we're not here, the neighboring countries would collapse on the spot. I won't give you details, but there are a lot of details that I could give you. But the ones who don't need the details are the Iranians. They know that very well. So they proceeded to embark on a campaign right from the start that basically targeted Israel, and it's not only to conquer the Middle East, it's for their larger ambition to subjugate all Muslims to their fanatic creed, but also, and that's written in their constitution, but also to export the revolution worldwide. And so their chant right from the start was what? Death to Israel, death to America. Death to Israel, death to America. That's almost a geographic truth. We stand in their way for their larger purposes. So they had to get rid of us. And in order to get rid of us, they designed basically two forms of attack. The first attack was to try to develop over the last 2 decades nuclear weapons. We'll talk about that in a minute. The second line of attack is something they developed piece by piece, step by step, which was to choke Israel by conquering pieces of the Middle East, both for their own reasons, but also as a noose of death around us. And you could see them moving from Iran to Iraq, to Syria, to the Mediterranean and Lebanon. They control Lebanon completely. They control Syria in many ways. They control Iraq. So now they have a continuum right to the sea. And then in the south, in Gaza, Hamas and Islamic Jihad. And then further south, the Houthis. And they have other plans. They would like to conquer the Arabian Peninsula. They would like to topple Jordan. They want to complete the conquest of the Middle East. But what stands in their way? Israel. So if you have this noose of death, tighten the noose. And the plan that they hatched is something that became much clearer to us in the course of the war we've just fought. You know that we were attacked savagely, horribly, in October 7th. I mean, these people are indescribable, actually describable. I mean, Chancellor Scholz, who visited me in the beginning of the war, when he saw the film, the horrors, and visited the sites, he said they're exactly like the Nazis. And I said, no, they're different. Not in intent, not in savagery, but the Nazis tried to hide their crimes, and these people carry GoPro cameras, live. You know, they're ecstatic about the blood they shed, the people they butcher, the women they rape, the men they beheaded, the babies they burned. They're ecstatic about it. So they took 250 and some hostages, of which we recovered so far 197.
Now, I'm going to pause here because he then goes on to talk about the war on October 7th and defeating the other Iranian proxies, Hezbollah, the Houthis. So let's just recap on what's been said here. Okay, so he said that Iran's plan is primarily to basically get the control of the region and then from there have even further expansion. And the way they go about that is primarily by dealing with Israel. This, by the way, is why Saudi Arabia is so concerned with Iran. It may well bring them to the table and doing a deal with Israel, because they're kind of competitors in a way. Don't forget, Saudi Arabia is Sunni and Iran is Shia. And Iran is seeking dominance of the region. And as Netanyahu is pointing out, Israel actually is guaranteeing a lot of the security for some of these Middle Eastern countries. And Iran knows that. And so they know if they can get rid of Israel, then they're one step closer to dominating the region and then going further to who they see as their main ideological competitor, America, the West. Why is this important? Because it shows us, first of all, that it's religious in nature. This is a religious conflict. Anyone that wants to tell you the Israeli-Arab conflict is just political, it's just about land, you're wrong. It's religious. What they're seeking is as Prime Minister Netanyahu described it, their Islamist extremist ideology and worldview dominating because it validates their religious view. It's what they believe is a religious imperative, not a nationalist imperative, a religious imperative to expand their extremist Islamic worldview to the region and to the world. That's how they think history is going to unfold. And of course, America is their even bigger threat in a way, because they see that as competing with them from a secular point of view, a Christian worldview, and they think, no, Islam has to be the one that dominates, and that's what validates our religion. If we expand, it shows God favors us. This is why they get so animated about Israel. This is why it's so infuriating to the region, to the Muslim region, that Israel has re-established its sovereignty in the land, because it threatens, it upends the Islamist expansion worldview that says Islam will dominate the world. The fact that the Jews, who were downtrodden for 2,000 years, suddenly return to their land, it shows that maybe God never abandoned his people. God never abandoned his covenant with the Jewish people. God is returning them to their land. They thought, oh, look, the Jews are scattered, wandering the earth. They must be forsaken by God. We are the new vessels of God's voice through the Quran or whatever it was. So Israel, either you say, oh, God never forsook the Jews, so we have to have a theological adjustment, or you say, this is a test from God and we have to annihilate it and continue again with expansion. And isn't it amazing that he talks about their plan for the noose of death around Israel, to surround Israel from all sides through all these proxies? And isn't it amazing how Israel we've seen just in the last year, the way it's dealt with Hezbollah, Hamas, so many security threats throughout Israel's the re-establishment of Israel's short existence, Israel's miraculous survival. In some ways, that is an epitome of the Jewish people's survival as a whole. Because throughout our history, just as Israel is now, we've been small in size, intensely persecuted and threatened from so many different angles. We've been few in number, and yet, here we are, surviving, thriving, defeating our enemies. How could anyone possibly look at this and not see the hand of God in this story, in the story of Israel and the Jewish people? In my view, not to see that, not to see the miracles, is to be willfully blind.
Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.